Red Arrows are the latest in a long line of display teams from the Royal Air Force that stretch back over 80 years. Since the first RAF pageant at Hendon in 1920, RAF squadrons have always put together formation displays to promote the service. From early biplane fighters to the latest fast jets, these displays have thrilled the crowds over the decades. Aerobatics have always played a prominent part in Royal Air Force pilot training. They are an essential step in the training of pilots, allowing them to develop complete confidence in themselves and their aircraft. The very first jet display team consisted of 3 Vampires put together by the Odium Fighter Wing. The Vampire was flown by various teams until 1950, by which time 72 Squadron was flying a team of 7. 54 Squadron with a team of 5 Vampires became the first jet RAF formation team to trail smoke. Meteors eventually took over from the Vampires, and 66 Squadron developed a formation team of 6 aircraft. The first team using Hunter aircraft appeared in 1955, when 54 Squadron flew a formation of 4 aircraft. Treble 1 Squadron provided the official RAF team in 1956. After a performance in France, they were applauded as Le Flèche Noire, and after that were known at home and throughout the continent as the Black Arrows. This 1959 archive film gave audiences at the time a flavour of what the team was about.
The high-speed aerobatics you have just seen were performed by the Treble 1 Squadron of the RAF. It is the pilots of Treble 1 who do the aerobatics at Farnborough and other flying shows in this country and abroad. The squadron leader briefs his team before the next sortie. In high-speed flying, there is no time for second thoughts and no second chance. These are ordinary fighter pilots, coming from other squadrons of fighter command, who have volunteered for a tour of duty with the aerobatic team. Any pilot can volunteer, and if he's accepted, will get a chance to prove himself. The briefing concludes. The squadron is fully operational, and in a national emergency would be in the front line. It is the ground crews, equally part of the team, who make the aircraft ready to fly. A pilot can only be as good as his aircraft. They go into a loop, this perfect pattern. How is it done? Not by instruments, but by eye alone. Each pilot follows the leader, and in card 5, he is the top left-hand aircraft. They pull out of the dive and get set for a barrel roll. In this roll, the aircraft sweep round through 360 degrees. Here they go, 22 of them into the loop. These are the only chaps in the world who can do it. Now, let's get up there and see what it looks like. First, we are into a barrel roll, and the earth seems to corkscrew round us as we turn over. And the horizon finally comes up level again. Now we go round with the formation in a loop. And this time the earth swings over our heads as the aircraft trace a circle in the sky. As we pull out, the pressure on the pilot is 3 times the force of gravity. The formation climb for a final loop. It is skill, practice and experience that makes these aerobatics possible. But the men of Treble One Squadron are ordinary pilots of Fighter Command.
Treble One Squadron was the premier team until 1961, when 92 Squadron, the Blue Diamonds, carried on the tradition of the Black Arrows, introducing some new formations and flying 16 blue-painted Hunters. In 1960, 74 Squadron, the Tigers, were re-equipped with Lightnings, and in 1961 performed wingovers and rolls with 9 aircraft in tight formation. In 1962, they became the RAF's premier team, and were the first display team to fly Mach 2 aircraft. For a time, they gave coordinated displays with the Blue Diamonds. The 9 red and silver Lightnings of 56 Squadron appeared in 1963 as the Firebirds. Since then, in keeping with general practice amongst most air forces, the leading display teams in the RAF have not been drawn from fighter squadrons, but have been composed of lighter aircraft in smaller formations. These teams are less expensive to operate and do not interfere with operational requirements. The era of the Jet Provost aerobatic teams began as early as 1958, when the Central Flying School, or CFS, based at RAF Little Rissington, formed a 4-ship team of Jet Provost T-1s, known simply as the Sparrows. The unit had previously flown 4 Hunting Percival Piston Provosts, and had just re-equipped with the Jet Provost the previous year.
Aircraft all 1 up, medium range, taxi.
However, the unit formed a new 4-ship team in preparation for the 1960 season, called the Pelicans. The team's aircraft had no special markings applied, but wore the standard silver and orange Dayglow training colours of the day. The team continued until halfway through the 1962 airshow season. At the same time, the T-4 Jet Provost was beginning to arrive on strength. The Red Pelicans team was born, and they performed at shows up and down the country, including the then annual SBAC Airshow at Farnborough in September 1962.
Bennington, Pelican Red, takeoff.
Pelican Red, takeoff. Surface wind 200, 10 knots.
200, 10 knots, ready to go. Red running up. Red rolling. ready. Go.
At the end of the 1963 season, the RAF decided that the Red Pelicans should continue as the official Royal Air Force aerobatic team for the 1964 airshow season, replacing the RAF 56 Squadron Firebirds Lightning team in the role, which could no longer be spared for display purposes.
Roger, ready.
Reason Pelican Red Leader, press join for formation aerobatics.
Roger, red. Clear join. Nothing in traffic at the moment. The runway is 23, left hand. The QFE is 991.
We're running in for a pass in Delta. Going down for a loop all the way around in arrow. All aircraft tracking on top. Red loop, pull up, go. Stand by, take off, go. Okay, down the loop, changing the wide glass, last three aircraft taking from the top. Okay, down the loop, all the way around in Delta. Okay, now narrow port Delta, all aircraft smoking. Smoke on, go. Going down for a split loop, all aircraft are smoking. Right, be ready when you are. Going for downward bombers. Red for Bombers, red, break, go.
The Red Pelicans continued displaying until the end of the 1973 season.
We actually started a little formation team. I used to do solo aerobatics for RAF Valley, and there were a bunch of like-minded people who said, you know, what about doing a little bit of formation aerobatics? And a lot of it was done slightly illegally, you know, when we were actually doing normal formation drills, and somebody would say, what, take it round a loop or whatever. And a chap called Lee Jones, who was ex-Treble One Squad, really did an awful lot of groundwork and persuasion, and persuaded their airships that we ought to have a team, at least, of 4 aircraft, and ideally 5, because it puts 2 either side of the leader and makes it symmetrical. And they went along with that. And then they thought, well, let's have it as an unusual colour. And so they painted them yellow. And indeed, it was a striking colour. And it was beautiful on a blue day. But the minute you got a grey day, you lost them. And unless they had smoke on the far side of a manoeuvre, you lost them completely. And that's really how we started, the Yellow Jacks. And we were called the Yellow Jacks mainly because we used Yellow Jack as a call sign. Lee Jones, again, the leader, who had been on Treble One, used, when they were on the Black Arrows, they used Blackjack, which was a distinctive call sign, as opposed to a squadron call sign. And we used Yellow Jack, and it just so happened that we'd been doing a few manoeuvres over the field, and people got interested, and the local journalist said, you know, can I come and watch them from the control tower, which he did. And he heard us call, running in, Yellow Jack running in, and immediately that was our name. So it was by default that we got called the Yellow Jacks. Yeah.
Pilots that flew in these teams needed to have certain personal strengths.
I suppose a desire to do the formation aerobatics must be almost paramount. A certain ability, a mechanical ability, an ability, I presume, to stay in formation for a start, a love of aerobatics, a love of pure flying, and to be with a group of people, which requires actually a lot of trust and confidence in the person who's alongside of you, or in front of you. The chap alongside of you, you hope will not rush out towards you and, you know, ping you off the side of the formation, or the chap in front of you won't bob you up and down and fire you off the formation. So it's mutual trust in each other's ability, and it's also compatibility on the ground. You must get on, but if you live in close proximity, you literally have got to gel as a team on the ground before you produce any sort of reasonable performance in the air.
As with all the RAF's display teams, the public greeted them with enthusiasm.
In fact, we were very well received. We did some shows down at Yeovilton and, as I say, Farnborough and things like that. And immediately we'd sort of broken onto the British aviation scene. The word got around, and people said, "Have you seen these Yellow Jacks? You know, and who are they?" We had been known by the sort of holiday makers and the local population in Anglesey because we used to practice over the field, and indeed the local holiday makers used to come from Lancashire and places like that. Used to line all the way around the airfield. You line the road. So much so that they actually made a little lay-by for these people to sit in.
The Follen Gnat was popular with pilots, but it was by no means a simple aircraft to fly.
I think if, as I was, and other instructors were, with a reasonable amount of background and a reasonable amount of experience, it was a delight to fly. For somebody who was coming on to it as a flying training aircraft, it was a challenge because it was a complicated little beast, and indeed if you didn't sort out any emergency procedures properly, you could get yourself in a bit of trouble. So as a pure advanced trainer, it was probably complicated, but for all of that, its very complication led to producing a student who could handle an airplane of that sort of complexity and performance very well. So you ended up with a very good product, albeit it might not have been the ideal platform at the time, or considered by some to be not the ideal platform. But it was a delight to fly. But like anything, you know, there'll always be people who will say, it's not too good for this and it's not too good for that. I do believe there was somebody at Boscombe Down many years ago who said it would never be used for formation aerobatics. You know, I'd like to see him now. We pressed on from there. We went to the Farnborough Air Show with the Red Pelicans, who were a Jet Provost team. And at Farnborough, everybody said, what are the Red Pelicans doing here? Because they liked the nat looked right. 45-degree sweep on it, you know, it fitted formations absolutely beautifully. So after that, it was determined to base the RAF aerobatic team round the nat. And the Central Flying School had control of the Red Pelicans, and they wanted the whatever team it was down where they could control it down there. So we all moved down from Valley and set up the team in '65, the Red Arrows, by which time they decided to change the colour of the aircraft so they were more visible on grey days. And they'd had black for the Black Arrows, blue for the Blue Diamonds, so they said, right, let's go for red. And red had been the Red Pelicans colour as well, and it was highly visible. And then, of course, there was a competition to find out what was the best name, and somebody said, well, why not call them the Red Arrows? And that was it. That's how it stuck.
Being a Red Arrow was by now a full-time job.
When we were on the Yellowjacks, we were also doing instructing as well. We were instructing students at the same time. And so we'd have our practices in the evening and high days and holidays and what have you. But on the Red Arrows, we just did 3 trips a day, in which we could do at least two complete practices per trip. So we were doing about 6 trips a day of the full show. And so we were working up at a fair old rate, a fairly highly intensive rate. In the work up to the display season, yeah. So, but it was a full-time job, yeah.
Putting a Red Arrow's display sequence together was quite a challenge.
Well, very much rather like that board behind you. We had little model sort of cutouts, really, of plan forms of aircraft, and we just put them up to see what made the prettiest shapes, and you know, you'd come up with a name for it, whatever it was, rhombus or vixen, half swan or whatever. Half swan has traditionally been known for, well, it's been known for many years because Treble One used to do it, and it was just a matter of deciding on the formation and then seeing whether you could move fairly smoothly from one formation to another. What we always tried to do was enter a maneuver in one formation and come out of it in another, without people, when we wanted them to see the change, when it was a pretty change, as we called it, when it was worth seeing, we'd like to present it so the crowd could see the change. But there are times when the change is you know it's going to be untidy, because so we used to try and hide that behind the smoke, change, come out of the manoeuvre in a different formation, and people would say, you know, that was quite impressive because that's not what they were like just a minute ago. And so it was rather like, I suppose, a choreography in some ways. Yeah.
This film, made in 1965, gives a fantastic insight into the first year of the team.
If they do see any of it, then it's essential that it's all done at the same time, a smooth movement back down the stem of the formation. So I'll hold my bank constant. We do the arrow flyby, smoke on, smoke off in front of the crowd line, and we change to rhombus in the wing over.
These are RAF pilots of the Central Flying School. Normally they give advanced flight training, but this is something quite different. Early in the year they formed a new unit, the Red Arrows. They're brief, set up an aerobatic team flying Nat trainers which will steal the show at air displays all over Europe. They plotted manoeuvres on a board with models, then rehearsed them in the air. And slowly, through the cloudy months of spring, the display took shape. It was tough, hard work, week after week, 3 and 4 sorties a day, bending about the sky in loops and rolls, stressing the body through 6 times the force of gravity. But continual rehearsal was vital. There were only a few days before the team would have to give its first public show. The Red Arrows fly the Nat Trainer, one of the smallest and lightest operational jets in the world. It's so small, in fact, the pilots say you don't so much climb into it as put it on. It's also extremely maneuverable, a fact very much appreciated by the aerobatic team. But it takes a good deal more than a good maneuverable jet to do formation aerobatics. It takes perfect reaction. It takes judgment that only experience can bring. Above all, it takes teamwork. The team leader judges his speed and the position of his maneuver with perfect precision. The other pilots must trust him to do this. They hold their position in the formation by watching him. Because he is well out in front, it's difficult for him to see the other aircraft and to know how well they're doing.
Smoke is before pull-up, pulling up.
So it's observation and comment from the ground that really matters.
Over the top. Whoa, whoa, yippee ducky. That was poor, as the T-loop goes. 5 got way ahead of 3 and seemed to throw the whole thing a bit.
This is one of the jobs of the team manager, squadron leader Storer. During these rehearsals, he watches carefully and records the smallest of faults which he sees in the already highly refined routine.
Changes, I think, a little too much speed for precision on that one. The Vixen 4 is a wee bit tighter than 5 on the left-hand side. The right-hand side looks a bit tighter than the left. Coming down now for a roll.
They call this the Zot. After every practice sortie, they listen to it, then they carry out a debriefing session while relaxing over a cup of tea.
That's it, Lee. I'll leave it with you.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Some are smoking, some aren't. Smoke is very ragged. It's still on for going up.
Right. Let's take it to bits now. It seems to be coming along okay from the Zot, but there's a lot of little things that need ironing out. Now the half swan. Now if I hold the bank constant, Pete, you're
the leader is Flight Lieutenant Lee Jones, aged 37. Flying since 1946, his family has a long commitment to the RAF. During World War II, lost one brother over Germany, Another was prisoner of war. As leader of the Red Arrows, he feels a great responsibility for his team.
Until Ray checks in. Ray, you don't forget to check in this time, and then I can start really wrecking it round to pull up for the half-swan loop. Right, now the cutlass.
You beat us a little, but I think it was better from the point of view that you were through.
Flight Lieutenant Bill Loverseed, AFC, 33, formation position 6. Born in Cairo, while on duty in Germany, married a German girl. Used to fly solo aerobatics and still enjoys doing the breakaway maneuvers.
Maybe there's going to be a slot through the middle which people are going to see.
Yeah, yes, of course, at the other end of the crowd line.
Flight Lieutenant Eric Tilsley, 38, Team Reserve pilot. Wanted to fly all his life but became a police constable in 1947. Finally was able to join the RAF in 57, and this is his second year in aerobatics.
It is. We should be planning on all the time. What did it look like?
I think, in fact, should have been a little bit...
5 seconds later.
I think so.
I came across a bit fast, I think, because I caught him just between Brian and you.
Flying Officer Peter Hay, the youngest member of the team at 26. Was born in Rhodesia, flies in number 5 position. Once a geologist, he searched for uranium in East and Central Africa for 2 years. Then joined the RAF.
Crossed behind me, and I was just a bit slow getting into the slot.
You didn't fall back though, Pete.
No, you
were right there all the time.
Well, I tried.
We'll have to check on the routine because we don't...
Flight Lieutenant Gerald Ranscombe, 35, number 4 position. Cranwell graduate, flying since 49. When he takes leave, likes to go skiing with his wife.
Now, Jerry, what about the bend right out of that loop subsequently? I wrapped it round as tight as I could.
Yeah, well, I wasn't desperately happy with it. It was a bit long and, well, you know, it wasn't one of the better ones.
Now, the rocketry seemed to be going...
Flight Lieutenant Raynham Hanna, AFC, 36, number 3 position. Born in Auckland, New Zealand, joined the RAF in 49. A rugby player, his heart has always been in flying.
Yeah. I think it's about time now that Brian and I stopped smoking.
Right.
I agree.
I was just saying half swan.
Flight Lieutenant Brian Neese, 33, deputy leader at number 2 position. His 3rd year in aerobatics, has flown since 53. Would like to fly helicopters one day.
Now, the actual half-swan loop, how did it go, Brian?
That was fine. No problems at all. Nice pull, no problems.
Okay. The change over the top to rhombus?
Yes.
No, I thought it went better this time than the last.
Self-styled team mascot Dusty, about 3½, born Labrador Retriever, has observed his master's aerobatics for over a year.
Any call in for smoke or in fact for pulling up.
Yeah.
And it's quite a, stiff pull up.
Flight Lieutenant Henry Prince, 31, formation position 7. Born in Lahore, India, he plays tennis and is a keen shot. Dusty likes to retrieve everything he shoots, whether he hits it or not.
The back goes on a little bit.
Yeah.
And I automatically think of old Ray because he says I'm giving him a rough ride.
What about the number 2 and number 3,
Could
Brian?
you call the change just a little bit earlier, even if it's just a couple of seconds?
These are the men who make up the Red Arrows, who will not only entertain the public at air shows, but are given the unique chance to demonstrate the ultimate in flying skill.
If I move because you push me, the first person to complain is you, and it's your fault.
On an overcast morning in early May, the big day finally arrives, and with it, the Red Arrow's first and toughest audience, the press.
May I bid you a very warm welcome to Flying Training Command and Little Rissington. The activities of Flying Training Command don't attract much political, public, and therefore press interest.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Scott Storer. My job is team manager for the aerobatic team. On behalf of the Red Arrows, and I welcome you to the Central Flying School. I would now like to hand you over to Flight Lieutenant Jones, who is the leader of the team and responsible for the flying in all its aspects.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to carry out an air briefing after lunch before the second sortie. All I want to do now is to run through what we're doing on formation aerobatic display as distinct from an air briefing for the pilot. All the rolls are done from left to right, which puts us in a nice position to come up here and down on the loop line. Now the loop line is not at 90 degrees to the crowd, but is at 45 degrees to the cloud either side. This then requires the crowd to look this way and about 50 degrees up to see a loop, to look that way to see a roll, and this way to see a loop coming from the other loop line. In this way, we don't want the spectators to have to do that, because that's bad showmanship. So everything should be there.
And then after that, we're standing...
Out on the tarmac, photographers and newsreel cameramen crowd in.
Now, should it be that we take off and the weather's okay?
The team worries about the weather, while the reporters wait to be impressed. They have been writing about air displays for years. They've seen the famous Black Arrows, the Red Pelicans, the spectacular foreign teams. Inevitably, comparisons will be made.
Okay, bro. This way, nice. Thank you very much. Get off your knees. He's got it all right. He's got it all right. Back round! Back round! Okay, bro. This way, nice. Thank you very much. Up at the outside edge.
The 7 gnats may seem unimpressive squatting there in a row, but how will they look in the air? Visibility is not good enough for a full show. No loops and rolls through that cloud. So Flight Lieutenant Jones leads his team through a series of low-level maneuvers and formation passes, giving the photographers a chance to get some pictures. Then the team breaks and lands, hoping for better weather after lunch.
I'm afraid that show that you have just seen was our bad weather show, not the show as briefed to you by Flight Lieutenant Jones this morning. If you look at your program, we are going to the officers' mess for lunch at 1200, which it is now.
All I had when I first got out there was 2 microphones and a bit of wine. 2 loudspeakers and a bit of wine.
That last one I started with
must have looked very nice.
I did a beautiful approach out of the valley, power on up the hill.
And I took it my time, I had the vaguest idea what you were going to do.
handled
There's a
it very
boom! Smack! Smoke and noise. And then everybody says, we missed that, could we have it again? I bet the commentary went big. I didn't have a PA system. I missed you doing full show. Blue. Boom, boom, that's the best.
You
can only blame the weather.
Do you know, there is one today, you see. So I said, okay, we'll smash in. So we smashed in, the first arrival was all right, and then the reverse. And just as I was about to pull up into the wrong as well, I thought, right, I'm on your line, big black cloud like that. So we threw that away, and we go around, and
I turned it's not getting in the way, mate. I turned this to the normal join up. I turned it on the 050 level. I tuned the 6 bubble over Officer Nietzsche's airplane. I picked the pair up, fortunately, over. Of course you picked the pair up there. I heard you call. Junction, which is that big railway junction over there. And,
you were the only one that was there.
I know.
You were right, ready for the run-in on 2-3.
I thought, well, the best thing I could do is wait here, because they must come past here.
They've got to come down the line.
I'm in the middle of
all we see is 2 aeroplanes going by into the middle, or they're following one, and they just suddenly see a blur go the other way. So Although it's very satisfying from our point of view to get a
Gentlemen, now I have your attention for a few moments, please. The general consensus of opinion seems to be, from the photographing point of view, that you would wish to go where you were this morning. Also, I understand that in the main, you would wish the display to be done up and down the main runway. This also will be done.
The weather has lifted. A full show is now possible. The press, the newsreel cameramen and the photographers will now see what they came to see. On show for the first time, the Red Arrows.
Red Arrows stand by the taxi. Red leader from town, the surface wind is 0408 to 10 knots. Thank you. Red lineup. Red, your clear lineup.
If you look to your right, ladies and gentlemen, you will see the Royal Air Force aerobatic teams lined up on the runway, about to take off.
Now can break off. Go up to 60% now. Right up to 90. Okay, now. Okay, now.
May I present the Red Arrows? Team will now do a roll in rhombus formation. Lieutenant Jones is now leading the team into a roll in arrow formation from your left to right.
Surface wind cam.
And left side wind through there.
Clear land.
Clear out green flag.
3 and turn.
4 left, parking green.
4 land and turn.
Clear out green inside there.
Right, clear land.
3 left, green slope.
Clear land.
3 to 5, roll green slope.
Clear land, surface wind cam.
At the end of their first season, the team had performed 65 displays in Britain, France, Italy, Holland, Belgium and Germany.
I think a lasting memory is a time of sheer fun. I mean, punctuated by bits of excitement here and there, but the sheer fun of flying with people who were like-minded. That's not to say you don't get the same sort of thing on a squadron, but we lived very much closer together than any fighter squadron crews would do. You know, sort of finish the day, pack up, go home. We'd finish the day, pack up, go to some other venue somewhere, you know, and we were almost living in each other's pockets. So, and it was the sheer fun and the joy of flying together. And yeah, and we got on well. We were a bunch of people who got on well, which was good.
In 1968, the team was increased in size to 9 and adopted the classic Diamond 9 formation, which has come to represent the peak of precision flying. It is now the team's trademark and is recognised worldwide.
I think initially when you join, you just learn to fly formation, and you fly starting just with the basics, but very, very quickly you're into doing your loops and your rolls, and then you join more aircraft onto it, so that then you fly sides, so you fly the left side, the right side, and then eventually put it all together. But the formulation of the actual show itself is normally you take what you had last year, see where the problems were, and then just try and improve them. There was a move sometimes to do something radical, but quite honestly, at the end of the day, the Red Arrows have always had a reputation for smooth, precision display that is guaranteed, or virtually guaranteed, as opposed to something which was a bit outlandish, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Although we did get into those realms occasionally where we would try manoeuvres, which were not wholly, even in the weather conditions, they weren't guaranteed. But sometimes, in a particular case, I can remember, we persevered throughout the entire season with a particular part of the show which really probably shouldn't have done. But again, we ditched it at the end of the next year and put something else in. So it's a gradual evolution.
The Red Arrows took delivery of the Hawk trainer in the winter of 1979.
It was quite a different airplane, the Hawk, although we were told, it's pretty much like the Gnat. It handled quite differently. And first of all, I think the main difficulty we had was the fact that the show had to be spread out. The Gnat, you could fly it very tightly, but in the Hawk, the show was bigger, the loops were bigger, and the speeds were a bit different. You had to fly faster, so therefore the whole thing was spread out. Set against that, of course, the aircraft is bigger, so I think the visual impression was probably pretty similar to that of the Gnat. But the Hawk was just a very nice aeroplane as well, not quite the character of the Gnat, but it was a very nice aeroplane and a very good aircraft for the job that it was doing. So the transition between the two aeroplanes was relatively straightforward. All we did was to fly the same show in the Hawk with virtually the same team as well. So it was a relatively smooth transition.
Since being introduced into service with the Red Arrows, the Hawk has taken the team on tours of Eastern and Western Europe, the USA, the Middle and Far East, Africa and Australia. In all, the Red Arrows have displayed in 50 countries. Since 1966, there have been 9 display pilots each year. All are volunteers. Pilots must have completed 1 or more operational tours on a fast jet, such as the Tornado, Harrier or Jaguar, and 1,500 flight hours to be eligible. Even then, there are more than 10 applicants for each place on the team. Pilots stay with the Red Arrows for a 3-year tour of duty. Changing 3 pilots a year ensures that the experience level within the team is never low, as there are always 3 first-year pilots, 3 second-year pilots, and 3 in their final year. The Red Arrows have no reserve pilots for safety reasons, as a spare pilot would not perform often enough to fly to the standard required. If one of the pilots is not able to fly, the team is able to fly an 8-plane formation, in which case the team leader will change the positions of the other pilots to maintain the most pleasing effect. If the leader is unable to fly for any reason, then the Red Arrows will not fly at all. During a routine, Red Arrows pilots regularly experience forces up to 5 times that of gravity, and when performing the aerobatic manoeuvre, the Vixen brake, forces up to 7G can be reached, close to the 8G structural limit of the aircraft. The Red Arrows are the culmination of over 80 years' experience of formation display flying by the RAF. They continue a proud tradition that continues to thrill crowds in the 21st century.